Hello everyone, I'm Sunil. I welcome you back to my YouTube channel TechBasics. So in this video, we'll try to understand arrays in C++. So when to make use of an array, what exactly is an array, and what is the advantage that we have when you work with the concept of arrays. We'll try to understand this with certain examples. When you talk about an array, you can define an array saying it is collection of elements wherein all the elements should be of the same data type, and all these elements are to be stored in continuous memory locations. So then you can call it as an array. Example, you can say integer a of 10. Okay, so when you say integer a of 10 or integer a of 5, meaning of that is you are reserving 5 memory locations for which you are giving the name as a, and every location now can be referred as a of 0, the next one can be referred as a of 1, the next will be referred as a of 2, a of 3, a of 4, and so on. So if you are declaring here a of 100, which means that you will have the locations reserved for 100 times, and then the address for the first location can be taken from a of 0. So the address will always start with a of 0, or you can refer the first location with a of 0, and then it goes up to a of 99 and so on. So what we are trying to understand over here is whenever you want to declare, say, 5 variables, you can declare it as A, B, C, D, E. But if you want to declare, say, 100 variables, it may not be possible for us to declare A, B, C, D, E, so on, for 100 number of times. So whenever you want to declare more and more variables, what you can do is, instead of declaring them individually, you can declare it something like this. You can say integer a of 100, which means what? You are now reserving 100 locations in order to store integer values, and the location starts with a of 0 and it will go up to a of 99. So instead of we saying integer a of 0, a of 1, a of 2, a of 3 up to a of 99, you can just write integer a of 100. You can as well say float a of 100. That means what? Here you can store integer values 100 in number. Here you can store float values 100 in number. In the similar way, you can say character a of 100, which means you can store here 100 characters starting from a of 0 to a of 99. So whenever you work with an array, your address starts with the first location address will be a of 0, the next will be a of 1, the next will be a of 2, so on. It will continue up to a of 99. So it will not start with a of 1, you have to take up from a of 0. By default, it will start from a of 0. If you want to skip a of 0, it is as good as you want to make use of one more memory element over here. That means if you do not want to make use of a of 0, then you are supposed to declare here a of 101, so that you can go from a of 1 to a of 100. But this is not a good practice because you are wasting one memory location over here and so on. Because by default, an array starts with a of 0 and it will go up to the last number minus 1 and so on. So it is as good as if the government has to construct 100 houses, the method is they can purchase 10 plots, and on each plot they can have 10 houses. That is one method. The other method is the government can purchase 100 plots and then on each they can construct one house and so on. So if you go by the knowledge of real estate, we say the second method wherein you are going to purchase 100 plots, and on each plot if you are going to purchase one house, sorry, you are going to construct one house, then it is going to be costlier than purchasing 10 plots and then constructing 10 houses in the form of a multi-storied building and so on. So the constructing 10 houses on 10 plots with 10-storied building on each looks to be cheaper than constructing 100 plots, that is purchasing 100 plots and constructing one house on each plot and so on. So that is what we are trying to say over here. So instead of you declaring integer a, B, C, D, so on for 100 times, which is not easy also to write. So what you can do is you can just say integer A of 100. So when you say integer A of 100, it means you are declaring 100 variables which starts with A of 0 and go up to A of 99 and so on. So the definition of our array says you need to have elements which belongs to the same data type. So when you say integer A of 5, meaning of that is you can have elements over here in this array which will be of type integer only. So when I write integer A of 5, I am reserving 5 memory locations which are referred by A of 0, A of 1, A of 2, A of 3, A of 4. And for all these locations, you are giving the name as A. So it is as good as you have a 5-storied building wherein for the building the name given is A, and the first house that you have or the apartment that you have will be called as an apartment in the ground floor, first floor, second floor, third floor, fourth floor, and so on. So if you want, you can refer to individual houses over here or individual number over here, or you can refer all the numbers with the help of a for loop and so on. So in order to declare an array, what is that you need to do is you just need to say integer A of 10, which means you are reserving locations 10 in number in order to store integer values. And the address starts with A of 0 and goes up to A of 9. If you say float A of 100, you will start with A of 0 and you will go up to A of 99. If you say character A of 20, you start with A of 0 and you will go up to A of 19. So whenever you talk about an array, you are reserving series of memory locations over here, but all these memory locations should contain data that should belong only to a single data type. You cannot have one integer value over here, one float value over here, one character over here, which is not allowed in case of arrays. So how do we access the data that is present in an array? For example, say when you want to accept the data and when you want to store the data in this particular array, what is that you need to do is you have to accept the data and store it in A of 0, then the next value you have to store it in A of 1, then the next in A of 2, next value in A of 3, next value in A of 4, and so on. So for that, what you can do is instead of you saying C in A0, A1, A2, A3, A4, you can write a for loop wherein you can start the value of I with 0, you can go up to 4 or you can go up to 10 accordingly and so on. And then you can say C in A of I. So in this case, when I is 0, it becomes A of 0. That means whatever number you are going to accept over here, that will be stored in a location called A of 0. So here I can be referred as a subscript variable, which means it is a part of this variable called A and so on. So then the value of I becomes 1. When I is 1, you are going to accept a number and that will be stored in A of 1, then A of 2, A of 3, so on. You will continue up to A of 9. Similarly, after you accept the values, these values are stored in an array. Now later if you want to display them, again if you have to display all the elements, you can again write a for loop with a cout statement and so on. So whenever you are accepting something in an array or whenever you want to display something from an array, you can make use of a for loop, provided you are going to display or you are going to accept the numbers for all the locations in the array. So let's try to work with some of the examples over here using arrays. Let's try to write a program with arrays. So simple to start with. Accept 10 numbers in array and you just want to display. So how is that we are going to write this? So once again, I am just repeating, when you talk about an array, it is something like this you are going to declare. You will say integer a of 5. It means you are reserving a memory location a of 0, a of 1, a of 2, a of 3, a of 4 and so on. In all these locations, you can store integer values. For all these locations, the name given is a. But you can refer individual locations by subscript variable, wherein you can say a of 0, a of 1, a of 2, a of 3, a of 4 and so on. So let's try to write a program to accept 10 numbers in array and to display them. So to start with, you will go with hash include iostream, iostream.h, iostream, the way you want to, and then you go with the namespace followed by your function called main, and then you try to declare an array. So you can say integer a of I, that is a of 5 you can say, and then in order to run a for loop, you can make use of a variable called I, j, k, whatever you like. Now this means what? You have reserved 5 memory locations. For what purpose? To store 5 integer values. Now take or accept the values from the user. So you can give a message to the user saying enter 5 integer values, or you can say enter 5 integers. So user will try to enter the values over there. How to accept 5 values now? You cannot say C in a of 0, then a of 1 and so on. Instead, what you can do, you can write a for loop over here wherein you start the value of I with 0, let it go up to 4. So less than 5 you can say I plus plus, and then you can say C in a of I. So what is going to happen now? You are going to accept, when I is 0, you are going to accept a number and that will be stored in A0, then A1, then A2, then A3, then A4. So all the numbers that you accept, they will be stored in an array. And later, if you want, you can print them. So you can say here, elements of an array. You can give some message to the user over there. And then you can print all the elements starting from the first element to the last element. And just you say cout a of I. That completes your task over there. So what is that we are trying to do here? We are trying to understand how to declare an array. How do we accept the numbers in an array? As the numbers are going to be more, then you are going to write a for loop over here and then you are going to accept the numbers over there. And while displaying also, because you have more number of elements to be displayed, you have to write a for loop and then try to display the values which are stored in the array. So the difference that you get over here when you write programs with arrays is your accept part can be separated, that is accepting of data can be separated now, and display part can be separated from input and so on. So you can accept the data here, you can store it somewhere. Later, whenever you like, you can access the data and you can display the data or you can process the data and so on. Earlier to this, whenever we write the program, this kind of procedure of separation of input and output was not possible because there we were not storing the values and so on. Okay, try to run this program now. So your program says you have to enter 5 integer values. So put on some values over there. You can give 5 numbers over there now. I'll run the program. I'll say some numbers over there as 5. Let me check here. So I'll enter some numbers. It can be any 5 numbers over there, not compulsory that it has to be in order and so on. Only thing that you need to ensure is all these numbers should be of type integer. So that's it. So whatever numbers you give, all the numbers will be displayed to you in the same order and so on. So I'll run it again. You enter some numbers of your choice, need not to be in sequence. Yeah, so what is happening now? 5 numbers you have given. So these numbers are now stored in your array called integer a of 5. That is integer a array. Okay, because they are integers, these values will be stored in the array without any error and so on. And later, what you are doing after storing these values in an array, you are going to display them. So you get the output in this fashion. Yeah. We'll try to solve the next example. Accept 10 numbers using arrays and display them in the reverse order. So the simple way we are trying to, so what is that we want to do over there? We want to accept 10 numbers over there. So what change I have to do in this previous program? I have to just make this array as a of 10. That is one thing. The message that you give to the user, you say enter 10 integers, and your loop now has to go from 0 to 9. And then what is that you want to do? You want to display the elements in reverse order. So you can say elements in reverse order. You can change the message over there the way you like. Yeah. And then when you want to display the elements in reverse order, what is that you are going to do over there? As you know, whenever you say integer a of 10, meaning of that is your numbers are stored from a of 0 to a of 9. So when you want to display them in the reverse order, you can just write a for loop wherein the loop can start with 9 because your last element is at 9, and it has to come down up to 0 because your first element is at 0, and then you have to come down every time by 1. And then you can just say over here cout a of I and L. Now you can check the output of this. You can enter any 10 numbers over here. It is not compulsory that it has to be in order or in a sequence and so on. You can see the way the output you get. So the way you have given the numbers, exactly in the reverse order, you are getting the output over here. It is not arranged and so on. If you give the numbers in this fashion, it will start printing from the last to the first without doing or without performing any sorting kind of operation over here. It is just to print the numbers that are given in the reverse order. So hope the declaration part, accepting the data and displaying the data is clear to us. Yeah. The next one we want to solve, the third one, accept 10 numbers in an array using arrays and display the first, second, fourth, sixth, ninth number. So what is that we are trying to say here? You want to display the first, then the second, then the fourth, then sixth, ninth. So what is that you are going to do over there? So you are going to accept 10 numbers, but while printing, you want to print. So you can say here, cout output as required. That is first number, second number, fourth number, sixth number, and ninth number you want to print. So output as required you want to print. So how is that you are going to write a loop for this? It may not be possible for us to write a loop for this kind of numbers to be printed. So what is that you can do? So we can just display it in this fashion. If it is alternate numbers, you can write a for loop. If it is in a reverse order, you can write a for loop. If it is two numbers with a gap of 2 numbers, then you can write a loop and so on. But these kind of numbers, if you want to display, may not be possible to go with a loop. And that is what we want to understand over here. If you can't work or write a loop for an array to be printed, then you can write it in this fashion individually. First number is presented a of 0, so you display a of 0. Then if you want, you can use endl. Then the next location, second number is available at a of 1, so you can write that. You can separate by the line, change. And then the fourth number you want to print. Fourth number will be available to us at a of 3. You can display that. And next number called sixth number is available to us at a of 5. You can display that. Followed by ninth number. Ninth number will be available to us at a of 8. Followed by change of line. So this is how you can display the numbers from an array individually if you can't make it in a loop and so on. So what is that we are trying to understand in this program is, if you want, you can print all the numbers in the forward direction, all the numbers in the reverse direction. If you want, you can print alternate numbers, or if you want, individually you can print the numbers. It is something like, if I want to call all the students from the class, I want to call the students out of the class, and I want to call all the students. So I need not to name individual student over there when I want to call all of them. But if I want only 3 students or 4 students to go out of the class, then I have to mention the name of every student who has to go out of the class. The same way here, if you are displaying all the numbers, you can do it with the help of a loop. Otherwise, you have to write individual address of that particular number and so on. Now try to run this program. You try to give 10 numbers of your choice, not compulsory, it should be the same. Now see, you want to print the first number, you got it, second number, you got it, fourth number, you got it, sixth number, you got it, ninth number, you got it, and so on. So this is how you can display the numbers. If you want, you can display all the numbers. If you want, you can display only few numbers from it and so on like. So then we can try out some examples over here, wherein you can say program to accept 10 numbers and display only those numbers which are divisible by 3 and 5. So what is that you want to do here? You want to accept 10 numbers. So the first part of the program is going to be the same. So what is that you need to do? You say include IO stream. Then you say using namespace std. Then you can write over there integer main. You can declare integer a of 10 comma I. And then you can accept the values from the user. No changes so far. You can say enter 10 numbers. Give the message to the user. And then how is that you are going to accept? You will say for I equals to 0, less than 10, I plus plus, you will say C in A of I. So by this you can accept 10 numbers. Now what is that you are going to do? You want to print all the numbers. But when you say all the numbers here, only the numbers which are divisible by 3 and 5. So while printing, what do? You say cout numbers which are divisible by 3 and 5 are, what do you say? For I equals to 0, you have to check each and every number over there. So for I equals to 0, less than 10, I plus plus. Now you write, before you say cout, you write a condition here. What is that? If a of I %3 equals to 0 and a of I %5 equals to 0, which means what? If these two conditions are true, means what? Your number is divisible by 3, your number is divisible by 5. So in that case, you are supposed to display the number. So you can display cout a of I. So before you display the number, we are going to check whether it is divisible by 3 and by 5. How is that we are going to check? By using your modulo operator. You will say a of I %3. If the remainder happens to be 0, it is divisible by 3. If the remainder happens to be 0, in case when you divide by 5, it is divisible by 5, then display that particular number. So then you can execute the program over there. Errors because I have not commented this statement over here, wherein you have written the name of the program. So comment that and then run the program over there. You can give some numbers of your choice now. You can say 3, you can say 10, you can say 15, you can say 20, you can say 27, you can say 30, you can say 45, you can say 55, you can say 60, you can say 90, and so on. Then out of these numbers, which are divisible by 3 as well as 5, only those numbers will be printed for us. So 15 is divisible by 3 and 5, 30 is divisible by 3 and 5, 45 is divisible by 3 and 5, 60 is divisible by 3 and 5, 90 is divisible by 3 and 5. So you are going to get the output for only those numbers and so on. So just a spelling mistake over here, you can say divisible like this, right? So this is how you are going to write a program wherein you can accept the values in an array and then you can display them. You can display all the numbers in the reverse, you can display alternate numbers, and then you can try displaying the numbers which satisfy a particular condition. So then you can try some examples over here. I'll try to give you some exercise. Try to do this. You can say write a program to accept 10 numbers using arrays and display the sum. This is one thing you can try, and then you can as well say write a program to accept 10 numbers using arrays and display the product of alternate numbers. So you don't want to find a product of all the numbers, you just want to find the product of alternate numbers and so on. So once you complete listening to this particular, going through this particular video and practicing the programs over here, you try to solve these two programs over there and so on. So we'll try to go with more programs using arrays wherein you can do searching operations, sorting operations using arrays in C++. So do subscribe to my video and then press the bell button in order to get the notifications of the new videos whenever I add them. Thank you.